And because I haven't had diddly time to read your bio, we're gonna wing this a little bit. Because Michelle was giving me the quick glance. But tell me, first off, if you would, tell me about your childhood. Tell me about what kind of young lady were you?
I don't know, I guess I was kind of shy. I wasn't very social. I won't say I was antisociable, but we were kept pretty close to home, for the most part.
Where did you grow up?
Right here in St. Augustine.
Okay. Did you ever get into trouble?
At home, yeah.
Were you a girly girl or a tomboy?
Tomboy.
Yeah. What kinds of things did you do in St. Augustine when you were little?
Well, we used to go to the beach a lot. And that's about all we had, was the beach and a few little dances on the weekends and school, choir. We sang in the choir a lot. So we had religious services to go to.
So, how early were you introduced to the Sisters of St. Joseph?
When I was very young. When I got to be school age.
So they've always been
That's
a
right.
presence.
Mhm.
So, how soon did you know you wanted to become a sister?
I guess it was 5th or 6th grade. My grandmother told me I was going to be her sweet little nun. But I had always had that in mind, I guess, because I always admired the sisters.
Looking back, if you had not become a sister, what else do you think you would have done?
The Lord only knows. I probably got married, had a family.
Did you have any special interest back then when you were young?
Yeah, I used to, when I was 10, I used to think I was going to be a cabaret dancer. That ought to make good news.
Really?
That's what I used to tell them. Of course, they always laughed at me.
So you danced?
No, no, not at all.
Oh, okay. What was family life like?
My family was a little bit mixed up. My mother died when I was 10, and we went to live with my grandparents, and they adopted us legally, and we lived with them and then with my aunt after they died. So I was with my aunt until I entered.
So take me through your journey entering into the sisterhood here. Tell me about the beginnings of that.
Well, I went right into the convent. I graduated in June, entered in September, and like we had a postulancy for 6 months, received the habit in 1948 that is, and it was kind of rough along the way, but I stuck with it.
How so? What was the best part, and what was the challenging part of it?
The challenge, I guess, was obedience, being there when you're supposed to be there, and schedules and stuff like that. And classes, we had classes. That's probably the most difficult.
Okay. So it was never like, what was the movie? Everybody knows. What was the movie that was it Haley Mills was in? The Trouble with Angels? Was that the movie I'm thinking about?
There is one by that name.
There is one with that name, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
So
it was just maturity, maybe, for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's different nowadays. I mean, we entered very young.
So tell me a little bit about your education along the way, those milestones.
Well, I went here to grade school. Well, I was between two schools for grade school. Went to high school here. There was a high school on the grounds at the time. And I was with the sisters all that time. Then I went to Marywood College in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And then I went to Notre Dame to get my master's. I got a master's in art.
So what do you prefer in the arts?
I like drawing and painting, crafts sometime.
You still do quite a bit of that?
Pardon?
You still do quite a bit of that now?
Sometimes. Jeanette's shaking her head back there.
So you're also a bit of a computer junkie?
I'm afraid so.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How so?
Well, I just learned how to do it, and so I get jobs along the way, and as I came along, I tried to improve, and I got to be fairly good at it, but not like a, I'm not a guru or whatever you call them. I know how to push buttons.
That's pretty good these days. So what has been, I guess for you, what has been sort of the seminal moment or moments for you as being a part of the Sisters? Has it been a personal experience? Has it been an opportunity where you've led another individual or inspired them? What has been something very meaningful that?
I didn't get that first part of your question.
What has inspired you along the way? What has been a pivotal moment for you where you really know you made the right decision?
Gosh, I don't know.
You don't know?
No. It was just always in me, and I never really thought of changing my mind.
That's great.
Never thought of changing my mind.
Sister Joseph is also Menorcan. You might want to ask her a little bit about her Menorcan heritage.
Menorcan heritage.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeanette.
You're
Tell
welcome,
me.
Sister Thomas.
My mother's family were Menorcan. My father's family were, I guess, English or Irish. And we really didn't hear too much about that growing up. And so all of a sudden, they brought that Menorcan story out, and not like yesterday, but in the last 20, 30 years.
Michelle, you got one?
As a teacher, you were a teacher in elementary, in middle school, in high school, and college.
Mhm.
Part of the thing that we hear about from some of the other sisters as a teacher is there were the grades that you were born to teach and the grades that you wish you never ever had to teach. Is there anything in your career as a teacher that you just think that you knew you were in the right place at the right time?
It's when I was in the choral glee club and singing music.
So you produced musicals.
Hmm.
Tell me about that.
I didn't produce them. I did do a couple. We did Oliver. We did Camelot over at Bishop Kenny. I did a few Gilbert and Sullivans in Miami. And I always enjoyed that.
So you're not afraid of a challenge. Gilbert and Sullivan, that's a big group.
Well,
is there anything to do with, that you can share with us about how music, because music seems to have been a really important thread through your personal life, that also in your role as a sister, it sounds like a universal language, maybe.
Well, yes, it is, but I just like music. I took piano when I was a kid, and I guess I got to it that way. And then I had a friend that I used to go to her home after school to study, and we'd end up listening to, you know, the more long-haired music, and I learned to know some of the operatic arias and all that stuff, and I always enjoyed it. I mean, I was just grade school when I got into that. So,
Lifelong.
classical stuff.
Do you have a favorite composer?
I guess it would be Chopin.
Again, not afraid of a
And
challenge.
Gilbert and Sullivan. Always liked them. I like the life. They're lively type.
So if we were going to put a musical on here at the Mother House and cast all the sisters, so where are we going? What do you see? Little Pirates of Penzance, perhaps?
Well, we almost did that at Kenny, but we never finished it. I don't know what I'd do with that. We'd have to make up a special one, I think.
So now more recently, you've got an interest in bobbin lace.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I learned to do that about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it's sort of gone by the board now in favor of the computer work. And I enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sorry I can't spend more time on it. But it's very calming. Sometimes it gets a little hairy and knotty.
So you're pretty much tied up with the computer. So you're into graphic arts as well?
I never had any education in the graphic arts. I
Just picked it up.
guess.
Tell them about your project that you're doing for the 150th sister. Give them some information about that.
The what?
The 150th, your project that you're doing for the 150th with the Maxims.
We're into doing a booklet with our maxims. We have 100 of them that we should be living by. And we're doing a little tent style book with them. And I'm trying to put it together for Jeanette. We're using the sisters' art in it, and I guess we'll have it ready for next year, unless somebody defaults.
Tell them what a Maxim is, sister. Explain to them how the Maxims started. That's very interesting to me, to people.
Say that again.
Tell them how the Maxims, who wrote the Maxims and what they're for and what you do with them and why this tent card is important.
You're making me forget things now. They were given to the first sisters in France. What's the priest's name? I can't think.
Father Madai.
Father Madai. Thank
Father
you.
Madai did.
Father Madai came up with these maxims that we should live by. And don't ask me to repeat any of them. We had to memorize them at one time. But that was 67 years ago. Well, almost. Anyway, we say these every day. We read one, and meditate on it and hopefully apply it to our lives.
All right. There's something there I want to get out of you, and I haven't figured out what it is yet. I haven't figured it out. So, with your wealth of knowledge, and you're diversified. You're into computers, you're into the arts, you enjoy music, you have this appreciation for these skills, for these gifts that speak to the heart, that are emotional experiences. Which I find fascinating, and especially with the computer stuff as well. How has all of that sort of defined you and made you who you are? I mean, obviously you're in the service to nurture and to care and to share, but those attributes that you have, how have they made your life more complete?
Well, I have tried to pass it on to students that have come my way, and I like to think that I have, because, you know, some of them have come back and, you know, said that they have come away with an appreciation for music and the time that they spent with the sisters. And I haven't heard any complaints yet, but I'm sure there's some out there.
Well, I don't know. I think with somebody who is diversified as you are in your interest, I think that's inspiring.
I don't have the words that some of the other sisters have. I don't, you know, think fast enough.
It's not necessary. Everything here is good. So what did you expect us to ask you today? Is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't touched on? No?
No. Not that I can think of at the moment,
Okay. Anyone have any?
except how good the sisters have always been to me. They were very good to us when we were coming up, because we really didn't have that much, you know. And I can remember all these places that were here are no longer here. And you go down St. George Street and you see it as you knew it, and then you see all the popcorn t-shirts, the smell of candy wafting down the street, things like that.
Okay, so where we left off, you were talking about the commercialism of the area of St. Augustine. So tell me how that makes you feel with all the sort of the carnival around this very special holy place.
Right. I don't know. It just, sometimes I'm, you know, just disappointed to see that the things that we knew have gone with the ages, as it were. And they, you know, use that St. George Street, and it wasn't like that at all. It wasn't like that at all.
What was it? What was it?
Some of the stores, you know, they looked almost like, I'm thinking of these storefronts that you'd see in the old westerns, you know, the wood fronts, and anyway, it was just a little more homey looking. And you knew everybody. And when I was young, the city stopped it. Well, this side of Ponce de Leon. And downtown was right here in St. George Street, Cathedral Place, Cordova. Now this is, downtown is down Ponce de Leon South. Anyway, it's not as nice as it used to be. I don't think.
But look at all the wonderful work that's being done here.
A lot of wonderful work, yeah.
And not only here, but all across the state.
Right. That's true. But, you know, I'm at that age when they say the good old days, you know. It weren't so good really, but we knew, it's what we knew and enjoyed and familiar with. But as the little cartoon used to say, them days is gone forever. So,
it's bittersweet, Jeanette. It's bittersweet, but still, there's such great work that's still being done. And I think you have to continue.
you have to bow to progress, yeah. Well, there's no question about that. You don't need to, you can cut that part.
Right.
And that, and the cabaret dancing.
One more thing Sister does is bake bread. The most delicious bread you'll ever taste. Or smell.
Do you do that?
What is she saying?
Bake bread?
Hmm?
Tell us about that.
I enjoy doing it.
Describe the process.
I like to do it, you know, because the nuns like it most of the time.
So what kinds of bread do you make?
Well, I've made sourdough. I've made, dinner rolls. Biscuits. That's about it. I usually stick with the bread. Cakes are not my forte.
And where did you pick that up?
And when I was in Jacksonville, one of the sisters that lived there with me, or I lived with her, used to do it. And then I got sick and had to be at home, so I kind of got into that. And I used to do it just about every day. We'd make bread, and I made muffins and Amish bread things. And then on Sundays, I would take them over to the church hall when they'd have breakfast, and we'd sell them. People used to always look for it, especially the Amish bread. I used to make that, and the kitchen of the convent faced on the playground. And it used to drive the coaches crazy when they'd smell the cake cook, the Amish bread.
Do you still bake today?
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow?
Are you going to be here?
Thursday? We'll be back Thursday.
You're not going to get a piece. You think you're going to get a piece of bread?
There won't be any left.
My husband had to be sick in order to get some bread, and that was all he would take was, can I have a piece of the sister's bread? That's all. We feel better. Yeah.
I was just lucky.
preserves the bread and everything herself.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna have to get here in time for a nibble, a crumb, or something.
Yeah, good luck with that. She won't.
Well, I usually just make 2 or 3 loaves and we have it for a meal, but I don't think I have one left, so I'd have to bake.
All right, anything else, guys?
I think that's it.
We're good.
Great.
I think you're done. You're finished.